Yo, welcome inside there. So this video's it's going to be in one part, but it's going to be a few things getting done. So we are going to start tuning the engine in the Jazz. It has a 42:1 manifold on it, and I have organised to get a 3-inch exhaust system done, manifold back, and I've got a K-Pro V4 to fit, which I'm going to do in a second, and then just bung a standard A2 file on it for now. And then after that, I might look at rerouting the induction kit slightly, just so it's not pointing backwards in the engine bay. I've got like an idea where I can kind of move it straight out from the throttle body, and I've also got an inlet manifold coming. So these are all things that we're going to feature in this next bit, which is tuning the Jazz, hopefully to get around like 230ish, 240 be even better. But let's see how far we get on with it. So first up, let's plug this ECU in. So there's the K-Pro and this dubious laptop. And because I never actually fitted the ECU properly, which is something I'm going to do in the future, it's just hiding behind the floor mat. So that's dead easy. It's going to be seconds to fit that. And this should have the cables and everything in it. I've stuck the hondata sticker on it just because it's dead cool. This should have the ECU, the laptop cable in there, the black one there. So we need that. I'm going to plug it in and then register it and whatever else I've got to do. So I should still have Wi-Fi here, because I'm outside the house. So and also, yeah, you can find you can find a lot of files for the ECU in the vault on the hondata software. I think it's called K Manager. I can't remember, it's been a while since I used it, but anyway, we should be able to find all that, which means I can switch off the things I need to switch off, so the ECU light will never come back on again, stuff like that. So I'm going to do that now, so the car might run a bit better anyway. K Manager there. I've used this on my Civic. There's my Civic over there. Cool. So I've uploaded a calibration of base one that I've got. All seems to be working all right, so that's all cool. I've disabled the secondary lambda and the evap purge type stuff that's not connected. Well, it's connected, but nothing goes to it. They're still there. So I've disconnected all that. Yeah, so everything seems to be working all right. So that's good. So it's just on a base file. I'm now going to look at the VTEC settings because it's currently set at, where are we at? VTEC. That one there. Currently at 5.8, which is standard, so I might lower that down a bit, just to about 5.4. I'll leave it at that, I guess, and see what happens from there. Cool. So that's that bit done. Next up is the exhaust, which is going to be a full 3-inch system. So hopefully get that done this week, and then the inlet comes, we'll get that fitted as well, and then we can take it for some tuning. So we got ourselves an RBC inlet manifold. RBC, put it upside down obviously, and it came with a thermal gasket which is reusable, which is great. I've ordered a new gasket for the throttle body, and it's got the adapter on it ready to stick the standard throttle body onto there, so that's all good. That there will be the brake booster pipe, and down there for the PCV, that's it. They've put some silicon sort of stuff in there and in there, which is the map part, which I won't be using because it's on the throttle body. So I have a blank for that somewhere. I might dig it out and stick that on instead. And I don't really know what that does because the gasket seems to block it off anyway, so I'm not going to worry about that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it all up, mask up through the injector parts and through all them bits there where the bolts go, and then give it a paint of black. So this should be a lot better than the EP3 manifold that is on it at the minute. And that'll be, as people say, a piece of the puzzle, which I don't know why it's a puzzle, because we know that these things work, so it's not really a puzzle. But this should take us on the way to about 230, 240, hopefully, for the Jazz. Cool. Right, let's get that painted black with barbecue paint. First coat on the barbecue. Right, so the exhaust's been done, and it was done by Cumbria Customs and Mechanical, or CCM. You can follow them on Facebook. They're in Carlisle, did a great job on it. I'll put a couple of a little video up at the end of this just so you can see that. I'll get some sound clips obviously when the car's actually all completed. So that was the first job done. The next job to do is the inlet manifold, because we've done the ECU. Once the inlet manifold is done, that's it, ready to go for mapping. So we've got a 3-inch exhaust from the manifold back on the Jazz. It's actually got a centre box in it, which I was surprised they actually managed to fit, but they did. It's not really any louder than it was before with the 2-inch. If anything, it's actually probably about the same. When you're driving, it's pretty quiet, and obviously when it's on VTEC and a little bit up the revs where you want it noisy, it is a bit noisy, which is ideal. So I'm really happy with that. Fantastic job they did actually. So Let's get this inlet manifold changed, which shouldn't be too bad to do. Hopefully, if I can get to the bolts easy enough. Otherwise, I have to take the radiator out, which I don't really want to do, but if I have to, whatever, it's only some coolant. I think I've got some in the garage anyway. So let's go and get that started up. But first, I'll show you a couple of clips of this exhaust and the system they made, and put a couple of pictures up that they took as well. Standard EP3 inlet, obviously because this is removable, it gives us that little bit more space to get in. The hardest bolt to get at is actually that one that's down there, which to be honest doesn't look too bad from here. The rest of them are not too bad, so once we'll get this off, that off, we'll obviously take this panel off as well. Just pull the front bumper forwards, that should give us enough space. Fuel rails are all off, fuel rail is all off, all the pipes are off, all the wires are off, so we've just got to get 2, 3, I've taken that one out already, so we've got 3 across the top, 3 across the bottom, pull that all out, and then we'll swap the throttle body onto the manifold, onto new manifolds in the car. I might as well just take it off on this one because it's dead easy. Also because I'm not sure, I think this is going to sort of sit about here. Hopefully it's going to clear the fan. I'll come to that when I need to though, but yeah, so last few bolts and then we're good. When you're doing this, just keep them little spacer things because I will need them for the under manifold because I don't think it came with them. So I've got them, that's the fuel rail spacers. But yeah, that's that. Dead straightforward. So that's the inlet manifold off, dead easy actually, loads of space. It's actually probably easier than working on an EP3. So there we go. So next up, I need to clean, look at that. That's all that about. I'll give that a quick clean. And then we'll compare the two manifolds. Then we'll start bolting the new one on, and then obviously we need to swap the throttle body from that one onto it. Right, so ignoring the throttle body, you can see how they're a total different shape and different design. This one is the PRB inlet, there it is there, which is the EP3 standard one, and this one is an RBC, which I think comes on the FD2 Civics, but you can physically see that these runners are fatter than those ones, and those ones curve up into this chamber, whereas them ones come straight back into this chamber, which is at an angle. That sort of comes back and goes down, it's quite a deep chamber there, and then goes up and into the throttle body, whereas this one's just straight out. These are quite a good inlet manifold, I believe. I think it's an RC is the better one, it's marginally better, but it's a hell of a lot more money, even second hand. This was quite cheap second hand, they're worth pretty much nothing. So I need to take the throttle body off, but I will mount that afterwards onto there. See, this has got an RBC adapter, obviously that's an RBC, but this is like a little plate here which allows you to fit the EP3 throttle body to it, because this, I'm not actually sure what throttle body would have been on that. I don't think it was drive-by-wire, but anyway, we'll see. So this has had the barbecue black paint on it. I just need to take out all these little bit of things that I've mashed off, take all them out. I've got a thermal gasket to go on it, and then we can line it up and fit it up. The only concerns I've got actually was that if you see where that throttle body sits and the manifold, it sits, it's about this much further forward than that one. I have to cut the headlamp panel, well maybe cut it a little tiny bit, but I can mark it up afterwards. But actually this throttle body comes out straight and that one goes on a slight angle. That might actually give me more clearance for this plug here, even though it sticks out a bit further because the angle's going that way. It might actually clear the fan, no problem. We'll find out. Right, so the first thing that I've come into while doing this is that this here is catching on the manifold. So if I chop through that with a hacksaw, be careful not to break that because obviously that's the top height radiator. So if I chop through that with a hacksaw dead carefully, that'll give me an extra tiny little bit of clearance, which should mean that it'll fit a bit better. Otherwise, it seems to go on no problem, and I should have enough space really, because I can always tip this radiator forward a little bit more than it already is. It's not really a problem, that I can still get it forward a tiny bit more than if I need to. So cut that with my old mate and then we're good. So it's all attached, it's all on. We do have space there now, which is good. It's not ready to do. I've put the pipe on for the PCB. Obviously, like you can work drop my phone there. Obviously you can work out like where these things are, because that there's your brake booster, which was already there, so I can trim that a little bit shorter, make that a bit neater. There's a fuel rail to go back on, so that's what they are for all four. Throttle cable, obviously the rest of it is just alright, but the only problem I've got is headlamp panel. I'm gonna have to trim a fair bit out of it, so I'm gonna have to kind of lay it on. I'll get a pen and I'll just mark around the whole heap that I'm gonna have to cut out of it, which is a bit annoying, but that is what it is. Apologies on the rusty stud and nut, I didn't have anything else, so I'll have to reuse that one. I've also used POR 15, which is a direct to rust paint, so I've painted up my metal water rail with that just to stop that corroding, hopefully stop it corroding. Yeah, so next up I think we'll do the throttle body, and we'll leave the fuel rail stuff till the end. If you fit in a thermal gasket though, when you fit it on, get them all nipped and then just gently do like that, you know, in your sequence like you would for head bolts. Leave it a while, maybe like 10 minutes, and then come back and just give them another check, because sometimes it compresses slightly, because like a nylon, I think they're made out of nylon, but sometimes it'll compress slightly and your bolts will come slightly loose. I did notice when I took my old inlet off that this side here is actually loose. That bolt, the one that's underneath, and the middle one there were all loose, and it did have a slight sort of hesitation, possibly because of that. But yeah, right, okay, so throttle body to attach, then get on with it. But yeah, that looks massive in there, doesn't it? Huge. Maybe it won't all work, but we'll see. We'll see. Right, so next problem is the idle air assist valve. If you can see that plug down there, there we go, on there. You ain't getting a plug on that. It's a big old plug, but I don't need it. I can switch it off in K-Pro. That's how my Civic is, and it runs fine. I don't need it, just need to set the idle and then we're good. So that's not actually really that much of a problem. I can now start plugging these sensors back in, and then all I've got to do is put the fuel rail back on, swap the ECU over, and then work on the headlamp panel. But yeah, that's the first thing. I mean, I thought that was going to be a problem anyway, but I did hope that the angle of this maybe meant that it moved that far enough away, but it's not going to, so I'm just going to ignore it. It's not really a problem. I took that wire back down there. Right, so yeah, let's get all these bits and pieces plugged back in again. Done. Right, so everything's connected, everything's done. I still can't get the idle control plugged in. I might try and put the plug in and see what happens, see how much give I've got in this. Don't know if I've got much, but we can see. It might go on. I'll give it a quick try. But then jobs for the future is we're going to relocate this air filter, and we're going to relocate it into there, right in there, because there's plenty of space to come through there with a pipe. I tried to make my own sort of locate it where the catch can is, but because of this water pipe sitting on the angle it does, it kind of, if you can see that, that kind of goes straight through that, so it pushes down that. I don't really want to do that. So what we've done is I've put this pipe back on, which does fit okay. It's not really a problem. It's kind of collapsed there actually. Why is that? Might need to rotate it, but anyway, so I fit that back on, everything's pulled back in, we're good to go. I've actually found that the FN2 cover, wait a minute, this is the FN2 cover, that will fit on there. So instead of me spending a fortune buying a RBC one, I'll just use the FN2 one. Cool, so I'll paint that black, and I'll just try and get a green bit of pen and do, oh no, that's loose. Well, that's kind of handy. Anyway, but then that does fit, so that's good. Makes it look a bit neater as well, because I don't like the factory looking fuel rail. I could probably buy a fuel rail for it and make it look a bit tidier. I don't know, we'll see. Right, anyway, so headlamp panel to try and fit on, which is going to be a nightmare. Yeah, and then start up. I'll forget my idle control problems. I've actually managed to get it plugged in. Cool, so there was just enough space for it, which is handy. I need to tuck all this loom back down here. Just enough space, right, and then we can start looking at getting this cut. So yeah, I need a pen, and as you can see, miles off, so I'll have to cut through there, and then probably somewhere around where that sticker is. Maybe not too much of it though. Right, so we've chopped headlamp panel out. between there. You basically need a little notch up there, across that, and then a little sort of angle out of there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get some green silicone hose and just run it along that edge there, just to sort of protect it a little bit so it doesn't do anything. And I'm also going to get probably get my pal Johnny to weld a little plate in between there and there underneath to give that a bit more strength, and probably do the same there just to make sure. I think it's possibly slightly catching on there still on this side. It doesn't feel like it is, but it's maybe just there. So the other option is to chop that off there completely, box section it, and then box section that there, and then we can put like sort of like an L-shaped piece in there, just so we've got holes for the bumpers are going. But I don't know yet. Well, maybe, I mean, it doesn't feel bad. It's just that the bonnet connects on there, but the centre's going to flex a little bit, but it shouldn't. I don't think it's going to be too bad. It should be okay, but it's something that we can work on. And then once that's done, I can then get all this bit here painted all the way across there, so it's neat and tidy. But everything else is back together. As you can see, it's put the radiator on a little bit of a wonk there, which is a bit weird because it's actually this bracket here that's causing the problems, not this end. Strange, I don't understand why, but you can't see it. It's not actually, it's maybe got a slight bend in it, I don't know. But I can adjust that because I can move it out from the bottom if I need to. So if I pull the bottom out slightly, and then brackets there and there, I can cut them off and weld that forward a bit, so give it a little bit more space. But I don't really think it doesn't seem to be a problem. It's nice and solid and tight anyway, so it should be okay. I can't actually work out what it is. I did wonder if it was that the idle control plug that's down there, but that's not actually touching it, so I'm not sure what it is. I mean, that's like about this far off it, 2 millisecond, but still it's not touching it, so we're all good. I think we can start it up and see what it does. Go and find the key. Hopefully it'll start up okay. Should do. I mean, it's got no fuel in it, so I might give it a few ignitions and then see. Right, okay. I'm more concerned about it having a leak than anything, so let's give it a bit of a prime. Right, let's go for it. That's alright. There you go, bumper back on. It's a tight fit in there, isn't it? It's a lot tighter than it was. So it's only got a couple of mil. Luckily it's got a solid engine mount, so what I might do is I might actually trim that a bit more eventually. We'll see. So I can just bring it round, follow that line. Might give it a tiny bit more clearance, but also make that a little bit weaker. But like I say, if we weld like a box section in there and a box section in there, that'll keep the strength where I need it, and that won't matter too much. Yeah, so FN2 cover. Bolt holes are slightly out, but you can pop the centres out. It's got like a metal shim, so just pop the centres out, and then it'll give it enough for the bolts just to get on. Like when they need nipped up, but they're on. They'll do for now, and that's it. Right, I will give it a quick test drive, and then next time you see this, we'll be getting mapped. I guess that's pretty much where we're up to. So 3-inch exhaust from Manifold back, K-Pro, Honda RBC inlet manifold, and that's us. Hopefully see about 230, hopefully. Looks alright though, really tight fit. Right, so we're back from our test drive up the road and back. Nothing to report, nothing seems to be a problem. There's no, the radiator isn't bust yet, but I'm still a bit concerned about how close that is to the inlet manifold. I'm going to buy a spare one anyway, just because they're only 40 quid or something, but I'll get a spare one, and if we need to move it slightly, we can move it slightly, because I'll have a new one to move it. But it hasn't bust yet, and I gave it some beans and it was alright. It lost the little flat spot it used to have when you used to put your throttle on. That's gone now, which I wasn't expecting, but I don't know if I said at the start of the video, I thought there may have been a slight leak on the inlet manifold gasket. I might be wrong, but it looked, well, the bolts were a bit slack, so it's possible it was just sort of
sitting away, and then obviously as the engine warmed up, it sealed itself better, I don't know, but that's not there anymore. Like I said, I went round and nipped up all these bolts on the inlet manifold, I think I mean 7s or something like that, but I went round, nipped them up, and I've checked them another 2 times before I actually set off driving. So that's all okay. Everything else fitted fine, and there is just enough space to do it, so it's close, but it all fits and it's working. So yeah, I haven't put any test driving videos in because there's not really a point, because the car's not mapped, so it's probably not any better than it was. The VTEC definitely sounds a lot louder than it did, but I'm not saying it's any faster than it was because I don't know. So within the next sort of, well, I don't know, the next video on the Jazz anyway, we will take it and get it mapped, and then once it's mapped we can then do some more driving videos and see how it gets on. But yeah, successful. So it's been about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks since I started doing this video, but that's just how long it's taken to do some of the bits and pieces. Mostly waiting well, for parts to come in the post, I suppose. But that's it, all good, all done. So yeah, exhaust, Cumbria Customs and Mechanical, CCM. Follow them on Facebook, did a cracking job on this. Well happy with it. RBC inlet manifold, K-Pro second-hand, all's good. We're going to aim for 230 horsepower. If we get any more, great. If we don't, then I'm not miserable. But to be honest, I don't really care. It made 207 as it was, so if it makes anything more than that, although I spent about, well, it's in the 4 digits, it is what it is. But hopefully all the stuff I've done will prolong its life and mean that if I decide to change things further, it shouldn't be much of a drama really, because I have found something I want to buy for it. Instead of that inlet manifold, yeah, I know, pointless, but Tegaway are releasing some throttle bodies for it soon, so that may be on the cards, and then a limb slip diff, but then that'll probably be the Jazz finished. I don't think we'll do any more than that, but then never say never.